Hagen was married for 15 years, but divorced last year, and is now hot on the dating apps. The more I get to know Hagen, the more I realise he's a big sweetie. Like 6'4" big. But part of me would love to be a fly on the wall when he arrived for one of his dates wearing his typical uniform of camo jacket, military boots, and wild sideburns. Or maybe the women love it, and he's cleaning up. Oh, and big news. Jakob broke up with his girlfriend. I think she called it off with him, considering how crestfallen he's been. Literally, his hair is sitting flatter on his head as if it's been overcome by emotion. I've obviously wanted to find out all the details, but I'm hampered by being his boss and trying to be even a tiny bit professional, so I keep willing Nancy or Hagen to ask some probing questions, but nothing. Danes can be so boringly tactful. I wonder if it had something to do with the addiction thing, though. To help with a software project, our team took a day trip to the local hospital last week to interview patients using older versions of the device we're working on and to test our prototype. The first person we met was a 14-year-old girl called Lager. Pronounced Lager, who had been in a car accident when she was 10 and suffered injuries to her throat and chest so severe the doctors thought she'd never be able to speak again. She sat very still, answering all our questions, in English too so I could understand, and let us take photos and generally prod and poke her, smiling charitably whenever we made terrible jokes to try and lighten the mood. She had these beautiful translucent eyelashes and pale, almost invisible eyebrows. And you could see the aggressive scars too. And I thought, how amazing to have been through this horribly tragic thing, and yet to be so calm and assured. At 14, were we ever as self-possessed? You were, perhaps, struggling with your sexuality. But I was a nightmare. What with all my anxiety, imagining what would happen if you or Mum and Dad were murdered, for some unknown and fantastically unlikely reason, and sobbing hysterically on my bed. After we'd finished our interview with Lager, we started talking to her surgeon and a few of the specialist nurses when I noticed Jakob was missing. I was furious. We'd come all this way and he was AWOL. Recently heartbroken or not, we still had a job to do. So I stomped out of the room to go find him. I didn't have to look far. Jakob was sitting in the hallway, hunched over on a seat, and I was about to start lecturing him and wagging my finger when I noticed his shoulders were trembling. Now, my tears I'm used to. My tears are fine. But someone else's tears? Nope, do not like. My impulse was to run, but against my better judgment, I found myself perching next to him instead. And it's the most awkward thing in the world, silently observing another human being crying when you're not even sure if they know you're there. Should I have politely coughed or said, there? Eventually I placed a hand on his shoulder, and the moment I touched him, Jakob sort of jolted and laughed/cried, looking up with tears and mucus all over his face. I hunted around in my pockets for a tissue, but he'd wiped most of it on his sleeve by the time I found one, which would usually gross me out, but somehow in the circumstances I could nearly tolerate it. "Are you all right?" I asked redundantly. "I will be," he said, sniffing. But he didn't apologise for crying, and I respected that. "I don't know. Lager's story really moved me." "We're under a lot of stress, too, what with the deadline." "And your girlfriend dumping you," I thought, but tactfully didn't say. "Fuck the deadline," Jakob said. "It's not important." This time it was my turn to jolt, first in anger at Jakob's lack of professionalism and his loyalty to the project, and then at myself, because I realised he was right.